In today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I moved to Germany from the UK. Germany and the UK are very similar in many ways, so I wouldn't say I moved to Germany for economical or quality of life per se, even though I do think Germany has a better quality of life than the UK. I've always been a person who loves to move around. I've moved around my whole life. I was born in Ghana, back and forth to the UK for holidays because my parents were based in the UK. I went to school in Ghana till I was about 17, came to the UK when I was about 18 in 2001, and lived in the UK for about 20 years. And within those 20 years, I pretty much moved everywhere south of London. I lived in about 6 to 8 different areas in about 10 years. That's how much I moved around. So I am not a stranger to moving around. I think I'm a very flexible person and I'm very open to experiencing new cultures and new things. In the last 4 years in the UK, I worked for an international company, which meant that I spent about maybe 4 to 5 months per year in the United States, in California to be exact. And I loved it. That even got me thinking if I could live in California, but I decided I wouldn't want to live in America, but I would love to spend a large amount of times there. So I'm just a person that loves to move around generally. I first visited Hamburg, Germany in 2017 when I met my now wife. I came to pay her a visit here, and I remember stepping out of the airport and thinking, it looks like England, but it feels like something's missing. I think Western Europe usually has a look which is pretty similar. If you go to Amsterdam, most parts of Germany, most parts of Britain, they all have a look, even though some of the architecture may be different. There's a look that looks very familiar to you. But I felt like there was something missing in Hamburg. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I looked around and it just felt very natural and felt very spacey. There was a lot of space. Those were the two things I could remember about it. And I think after a while I realized two things that really hit me in terms of the difference between Hamburg and now I find is mostly Germany and the UK is you can actually see the horizon. The UK is very tight. The homes are built very tight. The streets are very small. The buildings are usually higher, so it's very difficult for you to see the horizon. But I found in Hamburg, you could see the horizon. Driving from the airport home, even in the residential areas and the urban areas, you could still see a lot of cloud and a lot of trees in your horizon, and that felt very refreshing. And I really did like that. The second thing that I noticed was that there weren't that many billboards and there weren't that many commercials. I didn't see as much branding as you would in the UK. There's so much branding in the UK. It's all up in your face as soon as you go anywhere. So that was another thing that I noticed. Germany didn't seem to be so commercialized, and that's how the UK is, and that was pretty refreshing. It almost felt like a place you could live in without being exposed to all the branding and all the pressures of society to consume. And I really liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. So fast forward to 2018, we get married and we moved to the UK. We moved to Redhill in Surrey and we had our first daughter. Unfortunately, after we moved to the UK, the hit. So we were all at home. I was working from home at the time and I got to spend a lot of time with my wife and our daughter. And as great as the time as it was, I could tell that she was missing home. Obviously without her family and her mom and her friends there to kind of support her with a new child, I could tell that it was a difficult time for her. And I could definitely feel the presence of her family would do her much better than, where we were. But we obviously couldn't do anything at the time because of the but I did start to think at that time that maybe we should move to Germany. And since I was working from home, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of speak to my company, see if they would allow me to work remotely from Germany to see how that would work out. Unfortunately for me, they didn't allow me to do that. That wasn't something that they were prepared to do, for me to work remotely. And pretty much from that time, everything started going downhill in terms of my job. And it was a company I really loved working for. I had a great 4 years there. But it was looking like it was time for me to move on. If I wasn't going to be able to move to Germany and work remotely, for whatever reason, I don't know why that is, because we were working remotely. And I think there was a lot of my colleagues that were working remotely outside of the UK. But I would imagine it was without permission at this time. So I decided to unfortunately leave that company very reluctantly, but the relationship had gone bad between me and the company. And it was at that time that I seriously did begin to consider really take Germany as an option and really make moves to relocate to Germany if that's what we wanted to do. So I spoke to my wife about it. She was open to the idea, and I'm always open to moving around. I'm always open to new challenges. So we decided to move to Germany. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know how it was going to be like. I didn't understand what the cultural differences will be. I didn't even know what I was going to do for work. But I was determined to give it a go and give it a fresh start. So in 2021, I believe it is, we moved to Hamburg, Germany. I lived in Barmbek at the time. And I think looking back now, what has made this a good move is I always saw Germany as a very family friend. Well, I always saw Hamburg as a very family friendly place. There's a lot of parks. There's a lot of things for kids to do. It seemed like a whole lot of parks compared to the UK. And I found that all the parks had playgrounds for kids, and I'd see more kids out playing than I did in the UK. And all in all, it just felt like a really wholesome place to be. I don't know if that was just me being naive or just seeing the grass is greener on the other side, but I don't think my mind's changed on that much. I still think it's a very wholesome place to be, obviously comparing that to London. And I still think it's more family friendly than London. I knew about the healthcare, I knew about the childcare and everything compared to London, and I knew how much that would give my young family a better quality of life. I found a job in Berlin, which meant I was traveling 2 hours every day, 2 hours there, 2 hours back every day to work. And it was then that I realized that a myth, I wouldn't even call it a myth right now. I think it was then that I realized that the German efficiency didn't work with everything, because the Deutsche Bahn was a nightmare. It was never on time, always cancelled. So that was interesting. That was an interesting reality to see. But it was a great experience because I got to work for a German company. The only German company I've actually worked for since moving here 3 years ago. So it was a good experience. At least I got to experience. I'll leave a video here to let you know about how I found that job and how I lost that job in less than 5 months. So please go ahead and watch that. But yeah, I think all in all, moving to Germany was the right decision for my family at the time. I have not for 1 second regretted it. I think it's been such a refreshing thing to do. It's given us so much more quality of life than we would have had in the UK. I'm glad that my wife gets to be around her family and gets, the help that she needs. I'm also happy because we get like the healthcare and the childcare that we do in Hamburg, which is pretty helpful because childcare in the UK is very expensive, London especially. So having to be able to receive all these things and this quality of life, I think, looking back, is the main reason why I think Germany has been a good idea for us. All in all, it's been a great move for us. Is it going to be permanent? I don't know yet. At the moment, I feel like it will be. But like I said, I'm a person that likes to move around, but I'm looking forward to actually learning the German language. I'm looking forward to integrating a little bit more into the German culture and kind of experiencing Germany for what it is. It's been a bit funny with me being here because I still work for a company in the UK. So I'm always speaking English with my workmates, and I work from home from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So I don't get to kind of experience life in the workplace. I don't get to go out much. I do quite a lot on the weekends as well, spending time with my family, doing things like YouTube and other projects that I have going on. So I haven't really had the chance to really commit myself to the German process yet, but I'm hoping to be doing a lot more on that, especially on this channel. I'm hoping to kind of expand my horizons in Germany and be an honorary German before I leave, if anything. I think it would be a shame to live in Germany and not actually learn the language and not actually enjoy the culture properly. So that is my goal. I don't know if this video has answered the question as to how I moved to Germany yet, but yeah, it was basically a decision we made based on the circumstances at the time. Also based on the fact that I've been to Germany and I thought it was really cool, and I wouldn't say I did see myself living here, but I wouldn't have minded living here because it just seemed like pretty similar to England, and it just seemed like it will be such a good move for my wife and the kids. So I think between those two reasons, those might be the main reasons why I'm moving here. But since being here, a lot more has happened and a lot more has shown me that Germany is definitely a good move and a good place to locate to. Obviously, I am privileged to have certain things that I have, like my job, I get to work remotely and stuff like that. So it's worked out for me. And I would advise anybody who is thinking about moving to Germany to give it some serious thoughts. It's challenging, I would say that, but it's also rewarding at the same time. And you pretty much have to give the German people a chance, because Germans are not as forward as, say, people in the UK or people in the US. It takes a lot to get into, it takes a lot to become cool with a German, but once you're cool, they're very beautiful people to know. So you have to be patient when it comes to that side of things. Yeah, it's a great place to be. I would definitely move here to give it a serious thought. Do your research. It's going to be challenging like everywhere else, and expect to fill out a lot of forms. Yeah, fill out a lot of forms. Germany loves its bureaucracy, man. There is a lot of forms to be filled, so that's also something you bear in mind. And do your research about the place you want to live, because different places have different rules. That was very interesting to find out, because in the UK we have one set of rules for all the counties, and it doesn't change. But I think Germany is a little bit more like the US, where different states have their own different rules and the way things work. So do your research about where you want to live. If you've got kids, look into the benefits for childcare that you will get. Hamburg is a great place for childcare, so definitely look at Hamburg. Yeah, so those are the reasons why I moved to Germany. If you feel like sticking around, here's a video about 5 reasons why I'm struggling to live in Germany. Go have a watch, and I'll see you soon.